Party agents condemn surging personal attacks in the Gambia. Zimbabwe opens forced prison for female inmates that allow them to go home as part of the rehabilitation process. And Tunisian Navy has rescued hundreds of irregular migrants, while these and more coming ahead in the news desk. Hello there, this is Africa TV. Once again, many thanks for joining us. I am Amadou Kante, and now the news in detail. And we begin with matters of politics, because Gambian politics in recent months have been characterized by personal character attacks by politicians on opposing ends as campaigning enters intense phase ahead of the 2021 presidential elections. The recent surge in character attacks and the use of ethically divisive language by politicians in an effort to get an edge over their political opponents have become a cause for concern. And let's have more details of that in this report.
In an interview with the party agents of the UDP, NPP and the APRC at the Sinchi Voter Registration Center, the party agent of the APRC, Mr. Modijane, condemned the act, saying tribalism has no place in the Gambia, and that Gambians should do away with identifying along tribal lines and instead put Gambia first.
Tribalism
The only way we can get rid of tribalism is to put Gambia first, to identify ourselves as Gambians rather than along tribal lines. When one asks about your identity, the best answer you can give is to say, I am a Gambian, instead of saying, I am Wolof, I am Mandinka, I am Fula, or Jola. That is the only way we can end tribalism in politics.
The party agent for NPP, Mr. Modu Saho, said NPP condemned such acts, but was quick to point finger at UDP for causing trouble. Saho added that UDP had and has continued to be the origin of problems in the country, urging all political leaders to come out and condemn acts of tribalism that can pose a threat to the country's peace.
Problem here is all UDP and their party leader, because we always call him in the social media to stop his people insulting people, and we had the WhatsApp groups in this country, you know, anything, Kane Wuleng, Bamba Dinka, those are all insult forums created by the UDP members, and their party leader is aware of it. We came out and condemned it, and we call him to come out and call a press release to condemn those kind of things, because of it might end up mixing the Gambian, it might end up creating something in this country.
UDP party agent Lamin Marina said he strongly condemned violence in any shape or form. He also opposed the unfortunate event that transpired between the UDP visiting team and the people of Kanilai, saying Fonyi is part of Gambia and all political parties have a right to visit any part of the country.
Well, I condemn it, strongly condemn it for that matter.
Well, I condemn it strongly. Condemn it for that matter because it is something that we all should say no to. We should all say no to violence. It is true we all do not belong to one political party, but that should not be a reason to fight one another. Fonyi is part of the Gambia, so to my understanding, every political party has the rights to visit anywhere in the country. I see this as a wrong, and I condemn it.
The Gambia held its last presidential election on December 1st, 2016, which was the Gambia held its last presidential election on December 1st, 2016, which was disputed by former President Yahya Jammeh, whose 22-year rule ended. It put the country's fate into uncertainty as thousands of citizens were displaced before he eventually went into exile in Equatorial Guinea. Reporting for iAfrica TV, I am Hadija Haita Toure.
Party agents of the NPP, APRC and UDP jointly calls for calm as, of course, the personal attacks continued, of course, growing in Gambian politics. And from that report next to South Africa, because the Rainbow Nation is set to tighten the oversight of cryptocurrency assets following a proliferation of scams. The country's cryptocurrency service providers have been operating unchecked by regulatory powers, even as the popularity of the asset class has taken off. The clubs of Johannesburg-based Mirror Trading International was called the biggest crypto-related scam of 2020, and he has more details of that in this report.
Illicit activity leading to large sums of money involving cryptocurrencies disappearing in recent years have forced financial state institutions and regulatory bodies to reconsider their previous approach to leaving digital currencies unregulated.
I think that we are closer than many other marketplaces are. I think the Reserve Bank was very quick off the mark, but I think that's commiserate with much of South Africa's history in that we do tend to be early adopters of regulation, for better or for worse. So some of the better things there is, of course, you have tighter capital controls and more control of your economy and more transparency and more efficacy in dealing with economic crises, for example.
A new working paper on regulating cryptocurrencies has been released and is expected to influence South Africa's next steps in dealing with digital currencies.
We agreed that banning crypto assets would not be appropriate given the propensity such action might have in driving activity underground. Then also, I think, as well reported in recent months in the South African press and even internationally. So I suppose in view of the various suspected fraud and or scam related events, particularly involving crypto assets that have made the news over the last few months, doing nothing is also not an option.
Authorities are currently looking for the founders of a Johannesburg-based crypto company after $3.6 billion of investors' money disappeared.
So that's quite a challenge that regulators have to get a balance between making sure that you're giving enough space for young things to grow, but also not allowing things to move too fast. Our Reserve Bank is looking to start cracking down on the crypto space. I think that it's perhaps in this case maybe a little too late, but going in a bit too strong.
The Intergovernmental FinTech Working Group was established in 2016 with the objective to create a forum for regulators to gain deeper insights into FinTech innovation and safeguard customers' interests.
So each individual's kind of regulator or IFWG member, there is already the conceptual agreement and buy-in that they would take forward the recommendations and implement them as it pertains to their area of responsibility.
The recommendations focus on consumer protection and how to bring crypto assets within the domestic exchange control framework. The working group says there will be a multi-speed approach to implementation over the next 6 months.
From the report there in South Africa, we come back home and report on the ongoing proceedings at the National Assembly. Now, the Honorable Member for Serekunda and Chairman of the Public Enterprises Committee, Honorable Halifa Sallah, has on Monday briefed lawmakers on the activities of the Public Enterprise Committee. Honorable Sallah gave a tour review and a statement of activities of the committee tasked with carrying out lawful checks and scrutiny of public enterprises and agencies and the public service delivery system. Kadijato Haita Toure has more of that in this report.
The chairman of the Public Enterprises Committee, Honorable Halifa Sallah, said the Public Enterprises Committee is tasked with the responsibility of gathering facts and making findings with the mandate to come up with concrete recommendations geared towards making sure the activities of public enterprises go on as it is supposed to.
The dictates of conscience and national interest compels me as chairperson of the Public Enterprises Committee to give an explanatory memorandum followed by a statement on the operations of the committee. For your information, the committee is charged with the responsibility of gathering facts and making findings with the view to proffer recommendations on all matters relating to public enterprise.
He added that the committee members have been actively involved in the dialogue on the work plan between all stakeholders involved, from the public enterprises to the National Audit Office and external auditors, to end the delay in the submission of audited reports.
The committee members have facilitated and have been witnesses to the dialogue on the work plan between the respective public enterprises and the National Audit Office, as well as, on one hand, and some external auditors on the other hand, to put an end to the backlog in submitting audited financial statements. It is part and parcel of our work plan to facilitate the submission of financial statements up to the year ended 31st December 2019 for inclusion in the consolidated report covering 2015 to 2019.
According to him, The timely submission of financial statements by public enterprises is important because it guarantees its inclusion in the development budget, which helps finance development projects for the government.
Without the timely submission of financial statements by public enterprises, the taxes and profits from public enterprises that should accrue annually to cushion revenue earnings of government in order to meet expenditure outlays could not be accurately determined. In the same vein, without the timely submission of financial statements, the development budget will not register expenditure by public enterprises to finance development projects for government through lawful or unlawful executive orders.
The principal objective of public enterprises is to operate as successful businesses, to be as focusable and efficient as possible, and to operate in accordance with the government objective for the sector, and to be a good employer. Reporting for iAfrica TV, I am Hadijatu Haita Ture.
And from the report there, and of course the proceedings of the National Assembly next to Tunisia, because the Tunisian Navy has rescued hundreds of irregular migrants from the Tunisian coast. The migrants shared the difficulties they encountered while trying to cross from Libya to Europe. Let's have more details of that in this report.
According to the Interior Ministry, the migrants aged between 3 and 40 are from Bangladesh, Sudan, Eritrea, Egypt, Chad and Nigeria. They said that they had set off from the coast of Zuwara in Libya but failed to reach Europe.
I would like to acknowledge Tunisian government for accepting us here as a migrant and all the effort they have been giving to all the migrants here, especially in Nigeria. We really benefit a lot. Sometimes there is issuance of card so we can get our food and other of our need. So we really appreciate that.
Many migrants revealed that they had spent several months in detention centers in Libya. They opted for irregular migration when they were released by the Libyan authorities.
The difficulties we are facing here as a migrant is the issue of identity. Yeah, most of us, we lost our identity in Libya, Algeria, especially in Libya where there is war. For example, I myself, I lost all my identity there. I was in prison for 6 months in the Libya, and after which I lost everything I have. So I have to run to Tunisia for rescue. And I'm happy that Tunisia is giving me the rescue which I came for.
The representative of the UN Refugee Agency in Tunisia explained that the wave of refugees and migrants will continue in the Mediterranean basin and the world due to the negative repercussions of the pandemic.
There are local and global challenges. The number of refugees is increasing, as well as the number of migrants in an unprecedented manner. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a highly negative impact on their conditions and the host countries like Tunisia. Tunisian authorities are doing their best, despite all the difficulties.
Tunisian authorities announced that the phenomenon of irregular migration has intensified this week due to good weather conditions in Libya, Algeria and Tunisia. According to the Tunisian Forum for Economic and Social Rights, hundreds of African irregular migrants have already reached the Italian coast this month. Men, women and children are fleeing difficult economic and social situations as well as insecurity. Adan Shawashi, CGTN, Tunis.
The challenges to stop irregular migration continues, especially in the North Africa region. And from the report that Tunisia will now take a break and come back shortly with the remainder of the story. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
The pride we take in our brand, the work we put into constantly change the landscape and elevate real estate in the Gambia, it's compared to none. From inception, our goal was to add value to the beautiful Gambian landscape. That's why we are proud innovators of community estates. Kololi Sands is an exceptional piece of work, tailored for ultimate convenience and luxury, to bring you an element of finesse that is rare but unique in its own. This is also our pride and joy, and we welcome you to the exquisite beauty right here in Kololi and right here on the waterfront. Kololi Sands, feel the ocean breeze at your doorstep.
TV, and once again, thanks for joining us. Now, the Gambia civil society organizations have raised concern over the slow and sometimes lack of progress in carrying out civil service and security sector reforms. The chairman of the CSOs, John Charles Njai, said the reforms of these two sectors cannot be overemphasized as they are crucial in the development of the country. The CSO tells us more of that in this report.
Since the change of government in the Gambia in 2017, citizens and right activists have been calling on the government to deliver on its campaign promise of doing security and civil service reforms. There is a general consensus that the nation's civil service has a number of key capacity weaknesses that are worth addressing. The chairman of the civil society organizations, John Charles Njai, said they remain concerned about the reforms of the civil service and security sector, as these sectors remain unchanged since 2017.
As civil society, we remain concerned about the slow and sometimes lack of progress in the areas of civil service reform and security sector reform. The urgency for reforms in the civil service and security sector institutions cannot be overemphasized. Thus, even though we welcome the development of the national security policy and the ongoing plans to create a national defense policy, however, by and large, the state of civil society, of civil service and security institutions remain largely unchanged since 2017.
Mr. Njai said they found it very disheartening as these two sectors are indispensable pillars in the governance and development of the country. He further added that until the country can boast of a professional and responsive civil service and security agencies to act in line with the human rights principles and standards, the dream of a well-governed Gambia enjoying sustainable development shall remain a fleeting dream. According to John Charles, the government should execute necessary reforms in order to reduce the skyrocketing crime rates and put the country on a good developmental footing.
Hence, if the country is to overcome or at least significantly reduce crime, ensure efficient delivery of quality, affordable, and accessible public services, create opportunities for citizens to earn decent means of livelihoods, thereby reducing the high cost of living, then there must be a robust civil service and security agency that are equally professional and efficient. Ultimately, it is when these opportunities and services are created and delivered that human rights become truly respected, protected, and fulfilled. Therefore, today we call on the government to do all it can to ensure that the necessary reforms are conducted immediately in order to enhance the protection of the rights and fulfillment of the needs of the citizens.
He called on the National Assembly members and political parties to play a proactive and leading role to enable the executive to fulfill its mandate. To him, these reforms are integral to system change, which should be the preoccupation of the parliament and the political parties. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy.
Daisy reporting there as, of course, Gambia's civil society organizations raises concern on the slow progress made on, of course, the security sector and the civil service reforms, I should say. And finally, for now, Zimbabwe has opened its first prison for female inmates to allow them go home and learn new skills as part of the rehabilitation process. The open prison gives credence to Zimbabwe's drive to modernize prison and correctional services. Here's more of that in this report.
At first glance, these women look like they are in a hostel, going about their gardening, rearing chickens, and doing each other's hair. But this is a prison. Marondera Women's Open Prison took in its first 29 inmates in June and is giving them a new perspective on incarceration.
I'm as good as at home. At the closed prison, we would sleep at 4. But yeah, we sleep at 9 p.m. We cook on our own. We have so many projects that we do, and we are not told what to do, but we also bring in new ideas and suggestions as to what we want to do.
It's a welcome change for nursing mothers too.
At the closed prison, we had to leave our babies at the nursery every morning, but here we get to breastfeed them as much as we want and spend most of time with them.
The open prison system is designed to enable inmates to reintegrate into society as easily as possible. To facilitate that, inmates here will be allowed to go home and visit their families and be in the community for 5 days every month. That time is important to maintain relations.
Our male counterparts, when you are in prison, they don't follow their ladies. But when they know you'll be one day coming on off and you will phone them, your wife will be coming, they will be prepared, and that means the broken relationships. And for the family, the kids, even if there is no father, but the mother, when she is warm, the home is warmly.
Prisoners who've served a third of their sentences with a record of good behavior are eligible to come here, where they can start to prepare for life after release.
The closed prison setup was designed to punish. Now this setup is more on the rehabilitative side. You can tell that this is rehabilitation. I made my mistakes. I'm being corrected, and it's going to help me to get back into the society. And at least I need a starting point. So this is where I'm getting my starting point with the project that we are doing.
Inmates get a percentage of profits realized from their various projects.
And from that report there in Harare, Zimbabwe, we finally bring this news edition to an end. But for more details on this and other stories, as always, as ever, you can visit on our website on africa.tv. But there'll be more news at 17:30 GMT, that's 5:30 local time. Of course, you can join us then if you can. But for now, many thanks for the privilege of your company. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and bye-bye.
House of Fashion Gambia presents Tabaski Fashion Night 4.0, 9 July 2020.